Hello everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day. We're going to be doing some haunted house creepy stories today, but I know that a select few of you, or a lot of you, enjoy these stories and I enjoy reading them. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I just want to say that I did integrate some different ambiance. I think it's better and the audio quality is getting better as we go on, but thank you so much for listening. And I hope you enjoy listening to today's stories as much as I did reading them. So, this takes place back in 2005. While serving at the U.S. Embassy in the Ivory Coast, West Africa, one morning after working my night shift at the embassy, I returned home to the Marine House. The U.S. Marines lived in a local residence bought and paid for by the U.S. Embassy. It was a 3-story home in what locals would consider an upscale neighborhood by Ivorian standards. The home was fairly large and had a pool, gym, laundry room, and driver's rooms on the first floor and housed 5 U.S. Marines that were tasked with protecting the U.S. Embassy and its personnel. On this morning, I was pretty tired. I had just arrived in country and was still getting used to the night shift work. Lots of Red Bulls. I walked up to my room that was on the 3rd story of the house. It was a relatively medium-sized room with a bathroom attached and one large window in the bedroom that was fitted with heavy curtains to keep the daylight out during the day so we could sleep. I was crashing hard from all the Red Bulls. I managed to take my uniform off and get straight into bed. It wasn't long before I started dreaming when some sort of sixth sense told me, "You have to wake up." I remember opening my eyes and staring at the opposite wall at the foot of my bed. The room was dark and I was still half asleep. As I scanned from the left side of my room to the right, I recall my eyes concentrating on the daylight that was shooting down the side of the wall towards the corners of my room. As my eyes reached the right far corner, I stopped and focused on a dark spot in the corner of the room. I couldn't make out what it was, but the light abruptly stopped before hitting the corner of the room. As I stared at this dark spot, I realized it was a silhouette of a person. It was tall and I could make out the outline of shoulders and a head. My first instinct was that I was dreaming, but after a few seconds my vision cleared up and the silhouette was still standing there. As I focused harder on it, I realized it wasn't disappearing, and the realization that something was standing there hit me. I had a quick flash thought of what the fuck is that, when all of a sudden this shadow figure with red eyes that I can see clearly now rushed towards me and started choking me. Still, to this day, I remember the grip it had and the flash of heat I felt run down the back of my neck all the way down to my feet. I closed my eyes tightly and was paralyzed. I couldn't move. The level of fear that struck me was immense. After about 10 seconds, I felt this grip letting go, and as soon as I could move, my first action was to reach for my K-bar knife. I kept on top of my nightstand. I quickly stood up ready to stab whatever the fuck was in my room. The next couple seconds were me tearing my curtains open and clearing the room and restroom and repeating, "What the fuck? Jesus Christ, what the fuck?" My room was completely empty. I went from attack mode to quickly trying to convince myself it was just the side effect of this medication I was on. One of the cons of working in an African post was that we were ordered to take mefloquine, an anti-malaria medication, by our command. One of the side effects clearly stated was a possibility of night terrors. Regardless, I couldn't stay in that room. I ended up falling asleep in that common area with the TV turned on. Fast forward 5 months and we, the Marines, move out of that home and move into a new embassy compound that had just been constructed. Me and another Marine decided to have a movie night and watch The Exorcism of Emily Rose. creepy movie. When it was done, I walked into the kitchen and ran into Sammy, our butler. Sammy was in charge of doing our laundry and preparing our meals throughout the week. He was amazing. When he wasn't working for us, he spent his time as a Catholic priest at a local Catholic church. Having the movie fresh in my mind, I asked him, "Sammy, if we got possessed by the devil, could you perform an exorcism?" "Of course, sir. I do them quite often. Many bad spirits here in Côte d'Ivoire." "Seriously, Sammy?" "Yes, sir. Many evil here." "When we moved in, did you bless our new house?" "Yes, of course, sir. This is a very good home." "Not like the old house. That was a very bad house." Instantly, I went cold and asked him to explain. "The old house was possessed by 3 demonic spirits." He then goes on to tell me that one morning while he was doing our laundry in the basement of our old home, he looked into the marine gym and saw 3 shadow figures with red eyes standing side by side in the corner of the room. He grabbed his crucifix and began to pray before they vanished. He then instructed me to go speak with Joey, one of our Ivorian marine drivers. I hauled ass to find him. Joey was a 49-year-old father of 8 who had worked for 15 years as the embassy marine driver. Joey tells me one night after he dropped off one of the Marines, he returned to the driver's room where he tried to get some sleep. He was awakened by something whispering his name. When he opened his eyes, something grabbed him and started choking him. He said he swung his arms widely, but couldn't hit the thing that was choking him. When it finally released him, he ran out of the driver's room, hopped into the armored suburban marine vehicle, and drove to the U.S. Embassy where he remained the rest of the night. He never again stepped foot in the driver's room. He told me that sometime later our gardener accidentally dug up a juju box with bones and voodoo witchcraft trinkets inside. Apparently, somebody had cursed the property according to him. As if the story couldn't get weirder, I headed inside the U.S. Embassy later that day to speak with my GY about some work. Our conversation turned to what I had just learned about our old house. Gunny had this look on his face. He reached up to his logbooks and pulled out an incident report binder from a few years prior and pulled out a report where a former Marine at the post had reported an intruder in his room that had choked him and disappeared. He slept in the room I slept in. The Marine was convinced it happened to the point an official U.S. Embassy report had to be filed. So this is kind of long, but I'll make it as short as possible. There were many different experiences in my last home. My mom bought the house when I was around 10. There was always an uneasy feeling throughout the house. I have 3 brothers, 2 of which lived with us for a while. They're both older by at least 8 years. The older brother that stayed with us temporarily with his daughter and just had a mattress in the living room floor. One night he woke up and he saw a little girl running throughout the living room and through the door that goes to the garage. He chased her at first sight, thinking it was his daughter, but turned around and she was still asleep. My other brother claimed he saw the chairs in the sunroom move by themselves and would often get locked out of the main house while he was in the sunroom playing instruments. My cousin stayed with us for a good time and slept in that room. I was too scared to sleep in there and would sleep on my mom's floor. He ran in the room freaking out and woke us up before he ran outside after claiming he heard a little girl screaming outside the bedroom window. Nothing was out there. My brother's friend stayed the weekend once and was sleeping on the living room couch one night and left during the middle of the night to walk home during the middle of December with no shirt or shoes after saying something was trying to suffocate him in his sleep. As for myself, I finally attempted to sleep in my own bedroom one night, and as I tried to sleep, I heard a penny drop in my closet and then saw my toy wrestling ring slide across the bedroom floor. I ran to wake my mom up and made her take us to a hotel for the night. My mom ended up getting married and we moved out for a little bit. The marriage didn't work and we ended up moving back, but after a few years this time my girlfriend stayed with us, and I had my mom have a new bedroom built inside the garage because I was not sleeping in my old room. One night it was just me and my girlfriend. She had to go to the other side of the house to use the bathroom, and while walking back she claimed she heard a little girl saying, "She's going to hell," over and over. So she ran back to our bedroom in the garage, and when she was shutting the garage door behind her, she felt the door being yanked against her pole. Also, when I was younger, my mother says I raised up in the middle of my sleep and started speaking in a language she's never heard. We no longer live there and never plan on going back. So, this is my dad's story, and I know for a fact that he wasn't lying about this. Now, I've heard 2 encounters about paranormal activity, but the one he told me a few days ago still haunts me every second. So, around 20 or 30 years ago, my dad, grandma, grandpa, and the great relatives all lived together. However, my great grandma was driving down from Noosa to see her sister before she passed. Unexpectedly, she died of a heart attack while down there. The day that this paranormal encounter happened, my dad, grandma, and grandpa went to Sunshine Plaza. If you're in Australia, you might know where that is. So when they return home, my dad and grandpa see my great grandma, who had passed on the couch reading a newspaper. But the thing is that it wasn't meant to be a home for another few days. But they didn't know that. They brought it up with my grandma, to which she broke the news that she had died earlier that morning. The second story. This happened a few months ago, but it was about 12 or 1 a.m., and my dad works really late hours in his office at home. However, he feels something pulling his shirt, and he thought that it was me or my brother, but he turned around and saw nothing. My dad told my mom, and he told me what happened, and he looked so shaken up from it. I have bells on my doors. The one in the basement opened a few times harshly. If it weren't for the bells, I wouldn't have ever known. In between each one, I kept going down into the basement to check. I didn't see the door this first time open, just heard, and this time it was the loudest. The second time I closed the door good. It happened again. The bells were creepy as fuck. Shouldn't open the quickly, no air current strong enough. The hinges are good maintenance on the house. The handle turned, and I fucking watched it pull open again as I closed it, but it just kept happening. And I'm only scared of the Holy Ghost. By the way, when I went down from the first time, I checked the whole basement, and I had a suspicion about our storage room or garage. The fan was on and turning. Glad it didn't turn back on like the damn doors did. I was gonna clean my room, but now this is all I can really even think about. Because I always felt like I am being watched. I know my grandmother's house is known for creepy things, and guys, I'm not going to lie sometimes. My grandmother creeps me out. One night I came out my room around 3 a.m., almost 4, and she was sitting next to her door, just staring at me, not saying anything. Then she just closed her door. I got so many chills on my body. My mother always talked about how she would see black figures walk to my grandmother's room, open the door, and close it. Not once, but more than once. and my mother's ex-husband has said the same things. I have also heard at 4 a.m. like heavy boots walking in the hallway, then stop like it's at my door and just silence. Guys, help. What do you think is going on? I honestly believe my house is haunted, but not the normal haunt, but only when it wants to come out and do things haunted. I most definitely believe that the man with the boots, that's what I call him at least, lives in my basement because me and my sister have heard him walk up the steps, and my sister sleeps in the basement and hears him walking around. And one time she said she heard her doorknob turn like someone was trying to open it, and that's why she always locks the door when she is sleeping. She's afraid of the basement, and everyone in my house is, but my grandmother, she is the only one who denies we have a ghost. What do you guys think? Thank you everyone for listening. If your story was told, I'm glad I'm the one who could tell it. I appreciate all the love and support, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed today's stories as much as I did reading them.